Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here again. Thank you, people. I feel like what's it called? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or something like, welcome back, my friends.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't yet, make sure to like and subscribe.
Definitely. And hit that notification bell so you stay on top of all things Sim and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what are we talking about today?
I don't know if it's the ethicalness of organ donation. Not organ donation, but animal organ donation to humans.
Okay, so how this came about is this week there was an information that came out about how there was a study where there was a transplantation of a pig kidney into a human for the very first time in history. Now, important to note, this person who received the transplant is currently brain dead. They
On life support.
Are on life support. The reason for them receiving the transplant was solely for research purposes. It's not to prolong their life in any way. It's just for the sake of science. He donated his body to science, and they've decided to use his body to house these pig kidneys to see how viable it would be to transplant pig organs into humans.
They didn't say, but then I wonder if they took his organ, like his kidneys, and actually gave it to someone else or not. I really hope they did. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't read that in the article either, but hopefully there was some use put to his, well, maybe, we don't know, maybe his kidneys weren't that great in the first place. We don't know.
We don't know, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, so this has stirred up a conversation between the two of us at least. And we're hoping, and we're hoping that other people were, either got wind of this information and were thinking about it as well. All the different points about, like you're mentioning, like the ethicalness of it, and transplanting animal organs into human beings, like
where is the line being crossed? What else is being done? Because it's almost like, okay, well, if you can do this, then, why aren't we just cloning everything and everyone?
Yeah.
At this point. And it's not like, so I guess the point that is made is, they had to alter 4 genes in the pig so that the kidneys would be basically compatible.
Viable. Yeah.
With the human body. So now we're also altering the genetics of the animal, right? Just to basically please our human needs and wants, right?
Yeah.
So I have a lot to say about this stuff. It's like there's just so many unknowns, and then for me, I know people are going to be like, "Well, that's not science," but it starts with just the person that they're doing this to in the first place. He's brain dead. Fine, whatever. But then it leads me into the whole, spiritual realm, I guess. And if you believe in that kind of stuff, and we hear the stories all the time about people having these out-of-body experiences when they die, or they have heart attacks, or whatever. Or even when they're in comas, actually. There's always, and then they wake up and all that stuff, there's always something, right? And yes, we can always fight the side where it's like, but he's brain dead, so there's no brain activity. But then there's also been cases where people have been brain dead, and then people who have left these people on life support for so long, there ends up being some kind of brain activity again, and we just haven't figured out. Again, we don't use our brain the way we should use our brains is part of the problem in humans, but whatever, different topic, different subject. Anyway, so if he's on life support and he's brain dead, but they keep him alive, well, then his soul is still tied to his body, and he never truly died because he was on life support basically the whole time. Mm-hmm. Then for me, it's just his soul's just chilling there, attached to his body, watching them do this stuff. And yes, he did volunteer to be an organ donor.
For it, yeah.
No, not for that. He consented to be an organ donor. He didn't say, here's my body to be a science project, right?
Yeah.
They approached the family later and said, he's a good candidate for this. Can we? And they said, yeah, this is probably what he would have wanted. But at the same time, we don't know that. That wasn't a discussion that was had. They're just making the assumption that he's saving more than just 8 people. He's saving, thousands of people if this works. But then we cross over to, okay, so we're farming these pigs for their organs. So now we're doubling the amount of animals we're farming. There's the ones that we eat, and then there's the ones that
are being used for human life longevity, essentially. Yeah, so let's back it up a little bit and talk about why they're even doing this in the first place. So I don't know how much people know about transplant organs and organ lists for people to receive organs from viable donors, but it's a really, really, really long list. Some people have to wait years for an organ. In the case of kidney transplants, the main focus of their research is to be able to provide kidneys to people who are having end-stage kidney failure, and this would be like a last chance effort for them to prolong their lives.
Basically, people who are on dialysis.
Yeah, they're on. Yeah, exactly. As opposed to being on dialysis for the end of time.
Right.
So because of this, they decided that they wanted to venture into animal transplants into humans, or xenotransplantation, I think it's called. And so their idea is that the pigs, they've done all this research and done all this genetic modification to be like, okay, it could be viable in humans. So that's how they got to the point of trying to transplant it into, or transplanting it successfully into this person. Now, do we know how the effects are going to be long term? We don't know, because as much as they genetically modify these kidneys, we don't even know if the vessels in these kidneys are even going to be strong enough to contain the blood pressure of a human being versus a pig, because it's not the same. With that being said, and talking about harvesting animals for consumption and for use for humans, obviously we've always talked about environmental effects and long-term effects, and we're already in a strain as it is, and you're now presenting a situation where we're harvesting people's potential organ transplants from pigs when we already have so many issues with environmental pollution from animal farming. Mm-hmm. So we have food consumption and these organs now, which is causing more detriment to our planet.
Yeah. And I was
not
saying,
to mention,
I could totally get on the side of if the same animals that they were modifying and stuff for the organs were actually consumable, then it's kind of a double, okay, fine, I can get behind that in that sense, because we're not just throwing out a carcass of animal for just to get their kidneys, you know what I mean? And or the other thing too, I was saying, because you know how they were doing all those in-lab organ growth projects, right? Yeah. So if it was something like that, okay, I could get behind that too, because again, you're not throwing away a whole body just for, but yeah, if we could eat them, then I don't see it as being as bad.
Because at least you're using the entire animal for all its purposes. It's not just a one. You're just harvesting an animal for its organs. So obviously they've had to.
Also, the thing with pork is that it's one of the least eaten meats on top of it. So it's not like people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I really want that. It's not like a wagyu. People are just not about.
It's not
pork
a cow.
Religiously.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
exactly.
So
then you have. They're genetically modifying these pigs to get these organs. So clearly they're not going to be the same pigs that are being used for consumption, right? You would think.
Well, we don't even want GMO anything. So
why would anyone want to have a genetically modified pig to consume? So obviously that automatically, is going to be more waste created.
Mm-hmm. And granted, we've had the discussion that this is easy for us to say because we don't have kidney failure, we don't have heart failure, we don't have liver failure, we don't have all the things.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's a different situation once you're confronted with that decision, for sure. Put in that position, would I do it or not? Obviously, knock on wood, I don't want to be in that position. But I would like to think that I don't know that I would be very comfortable with it. And I would hope that I would be able to just kind of this is my time. But again, don't know. The other thing about it, I'm not against organ transplants at all. Like, I was telling Simone, like, if it came down to it, like, I would hope that one of my friends, Simone, would give me their kidney or a piece of their liver or whatever to have those kind of things, right? Obviously, with heart, someone would have to die for that. So it's a hard situation. I'm not saying it's easy. We're just talking about the logistics of having this conversation and not being in that position to have to decide.
Right. And as you mentioned, like, it's hard to say for sure what you're going to do when...
Because you can say for yourself, but think, like, if you put Winnie in that position.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's, like... I feel like with moms, it becomes a thing, like, that's my kid. Like, I would do it in a heartbeat. So you don't... Yeah,
it's definitely it's hard. Like, you don't know. You really don't know. Like, I know with everything that I can process in my current state of health and well-being and, like, knowing everything that I know, I don't think that I would want something like that. Mm-hmm. And the feelings that I feel, like we've already discussed about, like, taking an animal organ.
Yeah, the farming, like, the whole farming thing is just a lot.
I don't agree with that. It's not something that I can see myself being down with in any circumstance. But again, I don't know. Like, if it came, like, push comes to shove, and, like, you know, like, your life is, like, hanging. It's hard to say whether I would truly be against it 100%. I just know that in my current frame of mind, like, I kind of feel like if you're at that point where science has failed you, there's no ability for you to get a human donor, and you're at that point where it's down to an animal, like, I feel like that would just be my sign, like, it's done. Like,
well, and I think
that's it.
Another point that a lot of people don't know about, which we discussed, was the whole, like, death cell thing, right? Like, so even organ donors, like, it's this whole thing that the body, once it dies, basically, like, or I guess the brain, I don't know, sends out, like, basically, hey, we're dead, so let's all die together. Like, it's Romeo and Juliet, your body, basically. Like, let's just, we're all going.
Everything's shutting down, yeah.
If I'm going, you're going, basically.
I said good day.
So it sends out, like, that, right? Which ends up being, like, we don't know for sure, but it ends up being part of the thing in studies where that's why some organs are rejected by the recipient. Yes, using the right words today.
It's a win.
Yeah. And, you know, so that being said, it kind of also makes you think, like, this is life. Like, it's not, like, pretty. It sounds really horrible. It sounds cut and dry. But life is basically telling you, like, once you're done, you're done. You know what I mean? And granted, obviously, as humans, we've learned that, okay, we can take these organs and we have to be really fast about it, as you were saying.
Yeah, like, the organ procurement process is, thank you. The organ procurement process is very quick, like, depending on, like, multitudes of factors. It's a very fast, like, time-sensitive situation. You really do only have a small window of time to retrieve organs from someone who's recently died. So it's just a whole lot of sensitive.
Yeah. So then and then it brings that up, and it's like, so technically, should we be doing this in the first place? Because the body's like, no, I'm dead. Like, this is it, you know? Yeah. And then here we are, like, racing against
time.
Basically, human nature is what we're racing against, taking out these organs and then lending them to someone else, basically. And it's just, there's just so many factors. And I think if everyone was more educated on everything that really does go on behind the scenes, and it's not just so black and white as here's an organ, you're going to live.
Yeah.
Like, there's people that go through a bunch of donations and reject them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was telling you, like, Selena Gomez, that was the thing that she went through. Not Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez said something else. I don't know why I said Selena Gomez.
She had a kidney transplant.
Her as well?
Yeah.
It was A Modern Family. The older daughter.
Oh, okay.
Why can't I remember her name right now? But she had 2, I think, kidney transplants. And while she was filming, she was going through the second one, like she was doing dialysis and everything because she was like basically rejecting the first one. So like these kind of things, it's like how many times do you know? And she was lucky because for whatever reason, I don't know if she got them from other people. I didn't look like into that, but she was lucky to have 2. Some people can't even get the 1 donation, right? So,
and as we said before, like the list is extremely long. Like for organ donations, like people are waiting a long time. Sometimes people wait so long they don't even live to get a donation. You know, because the organ like there's such a shortage of organs. Like whether it be like viable donors or like, it's just it's a very long process for people.
I think also it's just the world we live in right now. Like I think back in, you know, medieval times or basically any time before the 1900s when
people would just die
medically, like they had no idea what was going on, you know, people were just dying here and there, and it was a fact of life. It was more like people still had grief, but I mean, it was more accepted. And same with children, like the whole process of having children, and like they either didn't make it to like a live birth, they weren't getting pregnant, or they were not living past certain ages because they were getting sick. A cold, a basic freaking cold was killing these
little
kids
things
out.
were killing people,
right? So people were having 10 kids but only having like 2, you know? And it was just a way of life, and it was more accepted because that's just what the norm was. Like, I'm not saying these people didn't have grief or any of that stuff. It was just more widely accepted almost. Whereas now,
it's like we're all about life longevity.
Preserve life at all costs.
It's like, where does it stop? Like, so now we're moving into organs. Like, when do we start creating electronic organs for things? You know what I mean?
We have
like
pacemakers already.
But a pacemaker is not your like whole like, it's just setting the rhythm for your heart. It's not really like your whole heart functioning.
It's fixing,
right? Like,
it is. It's fixing your heart attack every 5 seconds or however long it is.
But it's not a new heart. Like I'm talking about like them creating a full blown like functioning artificial heart or lungs or kidneys or whatever. Like when does it stop?
Yeah.
You know?
But then again, when people are on their deathbed, you really make choices that you wouldn't think you make. It's so hard. It is really hard.
Yeah.
I empathize and I could see where decisions are made. But then at the same time, like, societally, it's just, what lengths will we go
to live, like, essentially, like, people just want to live forever.
We're obsessed
at this
with
point.
This living forever business. That's we can't even grow old gracefully anymore. It's like another topic, but you know, it's hard. Anyway,
speaking of transplants, did you hear about the uterus transplants also?
No.
Okay, so another thing that they're doing is they're doing uterine transplants. They're temporary. So people are getting transplanted uteruses so that they can carry full-term children. And then after they have their child, they're taking them out to avoid having to take lifelong transplant anti-rejection drugs. Because that's what you have to do when you have a transplant.
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
So is it from people who have hysterectomies because they don't want their uterus?
So one case was a woman donated her uterus to her family member so that her family member could have a child because her family member, for whatever reason, did not have a functioning uterus.
I don't know if I could go to that extent.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Being on my IVF journey, I don't know that I can go to that extent. Yeah. I think I would rather just have a surrogate.
It's a lot to deal with just to have a baby.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have another surgery afterwards to remove the damn thing.
Yeah. And even having that surgery, you'd still have to wait a while for it to heal before you could actually have the kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you risk complications. I think they would just do a C-section at that point because there's too many complications because it would be a thinner area. Yeah. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. No, that's not. No. Yeah. That's a no for me.
That's another thing in the transplant world that's happening.
Oh, and also a guy ended up getting a pig heart. His story was that he was dying, and then they because he obviously needed a heart transplant. And they approached him and said, hey, like, you'd be a good candidate. Do you want to do this experiment? And he was like, well, I'm dying anyway, and I'm not getting a transplant. So, yeah, let's try it. And it was successful. Same thing, modified, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, go read up on that if you're interested in learning more about this whole thing going on.
It's like a truth is stranger than fiction kind of situation going on in the world as far as, like, biological, like, surgeries and transplants and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, let us know what you think. What are your thoughts, feelings, about this whole organ transplant between humans and animals?
And do you think it's messed up that we have these conspiracy theories about human-made viruses to wipe out the world, but yet we're so stuck on keeping people alive? What's up with that?
Yeah.
What do you think? Let us know. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.